Hello gamers. Today, it has come to my attention that there is a huge scandal that no one seems to have ever talked about. And today, I feel it is my duty to bring this to justice so that everyone will know about this scandal. What scandal am I talking about? Talking about the scandal of Romeo and Juliet and how blatantly they ripped off the Shakespearean tale of Romeo and Juliet. It's a shame how many people aren't talking about this. It's a big thing, and in fact, I feel like I'm the first one to actually make this connection, so. But, yeah, I think it's time for me to go over my points. Big piece of evidence here. The plots are basically the same. You have two families, and they absolutely hate each other. But within those families, there are two young teens that just love each other very, very much. And although their families hate each other, they still decide, you know what, let's love each other. But then one of them dies, and bad things. Of course, Romeo and Juliet has a bit of a happier ending since it's a kid's movie. But, spoilers for Romeo and Juliet. I know it's a bit old, but spoilers if you have not read or watched, whatever. Now, some real quick things I noticed. Their names. Romeo, now I don't know if you could get this, but Romeo is a blatant ripoff of Romeo. I mean it. Like, I know it may not seem like it. I'm sorry to tell you this, but it's true. Another thing. Juliet, they didn't even try there. They just named her Juliet. Some other characters with the same name as characters that were in Romeo and Juliet. Tybalt, which is a pretty goofy name. I don't see many people named Tybalt, so. Paris is the same also, so. Some real quick things I realized that, okay, so these are established characters then. We can infer who they copied for other characters. Like, for Lord Redbrick, we can infer that this Lord Capulet that they copied there, because it is the father of Juliet, and just makes sense. Same can be said about Lady Blueberry being Lady Montague. Same thing. Nanette. Now, Nanette is a blatant ripoff of the name Nurse, because it sounds very similar. And like nanny, nurse, Nanette, nurse, it's a ripoff. Featherstone, the little flamingo dude, is Friar Lawrence. And it also has come to my attention that Lawrence is spelled with a U instead of a W, and I'm gonna keep spelling it with a W as long as I live. I'm sorry if that offends you. Now, some looser connections I can make, but everyone else I think can agree. Benny is Mercutio. Him and Tybalt fight a lot. He's Mercutio. And the little shroom, mushroom, whatever his name is that falls around Romeo, I think we can all say that's Benvolio. Maybe. That one I'm like iffy on. But now, striking similarities. Okay. So, since this is a kid's movie, instead of them dueling it out all the time, like sword fighting, they race lawnmowers. Don't know why they do that, but they do. But it's apparently just as dangerous because Benny has his head, like top of his head knocked off, Tybalt almost dies too. That's a big part. And Nomeo, he runs into the road like, and then he almost gets hit by a car. Oh, I say almost. In the movie it looks like he does, but he doesn't. Sorry to spoil this, but he doesn't. But Juliet is very sad when she sees that she thinks he died, so. You know, it's kind of like how in Romeo and Juliet, Romeo and Juliet had to be separated because Romeo got exiled, and then Romeo was falsely told that Juliet died, so he killed himself. Kind of similar to this. Another big thing, Family Feud, obviously, but like they hate each other's guts. Everyone there hates everyone else. Like, does not matter. They hate each other, and I think they're always gonna hate each other. On a side note, but Ozzy Osbourne's in that movie, and Patrick Stewart. I didn't know that, but I researched for this to make sure my theory was correct, and I saw that, and I was like, whoa, no way. So I thought I'd tell you guys. But yeah. Some things that differ that I should probably mention, because like, if I'm just naming similarities, then you're gonna say I'm biased. So I'm gonna name some things that differ. Nanette has a thing for Paris for some reason. Lord Capulet and Lady Montague get together in the end. I don't know why, but they do. Well, no. Lord Redbrick and Lady Blueberry. I apologize. Yeah. In the end, it's still a story about star-crossed lovers who, unfortunate pain of events, and yeah, it's a big L for them. Now, why is the video still like at least 10 minutes longer? Well, that's because I need to pad out the runtime, so I'm just gonna keep naming things I feel like are part of this. So, they are like, they're made to contrast, like red, blue, like there's no bigger contrast. But in the actual tale, they aren't given a certain color. Capulets aren't red, Montagues aren't blue. So like, if you're gonna rip something off, at least rip it off correctly. That's what I would say. Now, I can't say this is for certain, but I'm pretty sure, just like in Romeo and Juliet, Paris is much older than Juliet, which is just kind of weird, honestly. So, yeah, they could have at least changed that, but I don't know, man. They kept that part for some reason, but also, yeah, I should probably go into why I said Shroom was Benvolio, because I have a feeling a lot of you guys are gonna be like, what? So, Shroom, he's kind of silent. Benvolio's not, so like, I had to think a lot for this. But I thought, and I kept thinking, Shroom never wants to be in the fights. Shroom is the voice, or the lack of a voice, but still a voice of reason. And you know who's the voice of reason in Romeo and Juliet? That's right. Benvolio. But yeah, pretty similar to the original story, and I still can't believe they copied it. Like, what are you doing? Not to mention, I'm gonna go off on this guy. The sequel, they also copied something. It wasn't Romeo and Juliet this time, but the sequel copied Romeo and Juliet. Sherlock Gnomes copied Sherlock Holmes. I'm sorry. But it's true. You don't believe me? Let's take a gander. So, Sherlock Holmes. Now, despite me being a detective, I don't know much about Sherlock Holmes. I'm pretty sure one of his villains is like Moriarty or something. Okay. Sorry for my inaccuracy. His name's Moriarty. And there's also the villain Moriarty. Maybe pronounced a little differently because I'm not the best at pronouncing things, but yeah. And obviously Sherlock Holmes, another terrible ripoff of the name, very obvious. And Watson, it's just Watson. But yeah, I'm gonna spoil the twist because it's very predictable, and I'm sorry, but turns out Watson is Moriarty all this time. I know it's a shocker. It's like a really big shocker. Like, it stunned me out of my seat. But yeah, so like, if you were going into this like, oh wow, it's gonna be a new original story. No, it's not. It's a blatant ripoff of Sherlock Holmes. I don't have as much to say about this one because, like, what can I say? It is actually just a blatant ripoff of Sherlock Holmes. Like, I don't even have to go into this one. Still gonna go back to the other one though, okay? Now, if you want even more things they stole from it, hear me out. Okay, there is one part where Featherstone, he knows the Friar Lawrence stand-in, says like, a weed by any other name is still a weed or something like that. I don't know, I wasn't paying attention. But Juliet actually said something very similar in, what's it called? Romeo and Juliet, where Romeo and Juliet, sorry, where she said, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. So it's obvious that they're mocking the original. This made me think, if that was mocking it, then what else? And that led me down a rabbit hole. I found out that the street this is all taking place on, believe it or not, is called Verona Drive. Verona, if you're an idiot, is where Romeo and Juliet takes place, Verona, Italy. If these are like just taking names, words are in, and putting it back into it, what else is it doing, huh? Besides blatantly ripping it off, what else is it doing? So when I found out Patrick Stewart was the character, I was ecstatic. I was like, oh my gosh, Patrick Stewart? No way. But they use him to mock Shakespeare himself, as they make him the Shakespeare statue. So, like, pretty obvious. There's even one scene where they literally just take the words, word from word. Parting is such a sweet sorrow. It's taken from Act 2, Scene 2 of Romeo and Juliet, whenever they... But yeah, that's about all I have to say about this, and, yeah, thank you for listening to my case. Please share your thoughts, and if you have any other pieces of evidence that would help my case, that would help a lot. Thank you. Have a nice day.